Okay, yechave daat. We are in book 4 and Siman 14. Good morning, Akiva. 4 Akiva, yeah? Another Akiva. We have 2 Akiva. 4 in one room, 2 Akiva. And he brought goodies again. Hazak Baruch. Oh, the Torah that we learned should be the Elun Ishmat, Menachem's father, Yaakov ben Esther, his neshama should have aliyah lemala. Question for today is in Siman 14 before Yechaveh Daat. The question is, as I wrote in the chat, Mi shehala b'shafa'at. Is that how you pronounce it? Shafa'at. Someone who got sick after. Thank you. Someone who got sick. B'nafal mishkab, and he had to go to the bed because he was so sick. He was reckless. He didn't wear a jacket. He didn't wear, I guess during COVID, you could say he didn't wear a mask. He was reckless. He didn't behave in a normal behavior that should make yourself healthy. And he got sick. Gomel or not? When he gets better, does he make gomel or not? So Sephardim, we're going to see now, Sephardim are much more, I guess we'll call it lenient. I'm not sure what the word is. We make gomel a lot more frequently than Ashkenazim. As we learned when we did the nisi'ah, the driving and the flying halakha. Well, this halakha is about being ill. Sephardim, we make a lot more gomel than Ashkenazim. So let's see the halakha. The Ramban writes, Ramban Nahmarides with the nun, and he says, "Ulinyan bikat gomel cholesh nitapeh, lav dafka becholesh yesh bo sakana, or b'makah shel halal, ela kol she'ala lamita, tzarich lehodot bebirchat hagomel." It doesn't mean that, God forbid, someone has to have a very serious illness to recover and make gomel. Nachmanides writes, Ramban, if someone is so sick that they have to go to bed, the flu can knock someone to bed, right? A flu is terrible. The flu knocks someone to bed. When they get better and they get out of bed, they go back to the becuase, they should make gomel, writes Ramban with a nun, with an N. Anyone who goes to the bed because he's so sick that he's bedridden, it's as if he had to go to the steps of the court case. There's a gizrah from Shamayim that he's, God forbid, in trouble right now. Even with the flu or something that knocks him to bed. He's in trouble. His mean law, praklitim tovim, Hashem in his mercy made him recover because he has good defenders because of the good things he did in his life, and he got better. And therefore, you have to say, thank you, Hashem, that you got me out of my bed and I'm back on the streets. And so you have to say, gomel, writes the Ramban. Who agrees with this? The Rashba. The Rashba writes the same thing. And the Meiri also writes the same thing. The Meiri writes in Masechet Berakot. He brings the opinion of some people, the Meiri says there are those who say you have to, God forbid, someone has to be in a life and death situation in order to make gomel when they get better. And the Meiri writes on this, I don't agree with this. Anyone who had to get knocked out to bed, remember you asked me this question? Anyone who had to go to the bed, that's the criteria. How sick was the person? Oh, I was walking around, but I was sneezing all day long. Not sick enough. Did you have to lay down? You had to go to bed.
Your question is, do they mean literally alala mita, as in literally?
Literally.
Or it's a phrase. Alala
No,
mita
literally.
Sometimes is,
No, literally. Someone had to lay down. They had to go to bed. They were so ill, they couldn't stand up and work. Right? And so, were you able to work? Yeah, I worked that day, but I was miserable. No, then you weren't that sick. If you were sick, it means you called in sick and you were in bed.
Time frame of how long he's been in bed.
Let's see.
The person goes for 5 hours sleeping.
So far, it doesn't give a time frame, right? No. Okay, fine. And the Hagahot Maimoni also writes, someone who is sick that got better. Piresh Rabbeinu Yosef. Rabbeinu Yosef explains what is this. Shedavka cholesh nafal mishkab. He writes, Rabbeinu Yosef, only someone who had to go to the bed. About hash birosho, someone with a headache, or b'me'av, or a stomach ache. He didn't have to go to the bed. And you don't have to bless after getting better from this. Okay. About Ha'aruch, the Sefer Ha'aruch writes, in the name of Rabbi Gaon, Sha'afilu Hoshesh Perosho O Begirono Nahagu Lebarech. Says the Aruch, in the name of Rabbi Gaon. Even someone with a headache, or someone with a throat, a cold or sore throat, would have to bless.
Not even in the mita.
Not even in the bed. This is the opinion of Rabbi Gaon. Okay? V'hatur Shulchan Aruch, not Shulchan Aruch the Tur, who came before the Shulchan Aruch, the son of the Rosh. He brings the opinion of the Ra'avad towards Ashkenaz, the Ravid. So the Ravid, we'll call him because he was Ashkenaz. The Ravid held you have to have, God forbid, someone has to have a really bad illness that's sakana. It's a life-endangering illness in order to bless. Visiyam, Abal Haramban Katav, and then he quotes our Ramban at the end. That Rabban writes, "Shebechol holi tzich leodot b'rachat gomel she'amru Yerushalayim kol ha'cholaim b'chizkat sakana." Ramban holds any illness, God forbid, can turn, and we see we see sometimes of cases like the person had a small thing, and all of a sudden it like escalated, God forbid, and what happened? It was because every time, God forbid, someone gets ill, there's something coming down from Shamayim. They're putting the hammer down on this person for whatever reason. And it's an onesh or it's a tikkun or whatever it is. It's a gezerah. They're coming down on the person, and we don't want to play no games. And so the Ramban holds, if someone goes to bed because they're sick, that's it. Bless gomel. Thank you, Hashem. You got me back to life. Ha-gomel l'chayavim tovot. I'm back to good life. Thank you, Hashem.
Ramban with nun.
Nachmanides, Ramban again. And the Aruch. The Aruch writes, Sha'afilu hash be'einav v'birosho, right? We said this. Even someone with an eye ache, the Aruch writes. Or birosho, or a headache, he bless, he writes. And this is the custom in Spain. This is what the Aruch writes. Now, I'm just going to say really quickly, because this is kind of a long halakha. I don't want to get too long. There is something special about eye illnesses, EYE, eyes, and ayin. Gemara Shabbat, I really don't want to get too much into this, so I'm going to throw it out there, okay? The Gemara Shabbat talks about all sorts of things that one may violate the Shabbat for, because in Judaism, health is always number one. Health. We break Shabbat for health. We're not Mahmid. You're not a Sadiq. You're not a Sadiq. If someone is, God forbid, sick and not doing well and needs medical care, and say, no, Shabbat, I can't drive on Shabbat to the hospital. No, you're Hasid Shoteh if you do this. You're a fool. Health is number one. Which health? Health of sakana. If it's a life and death situation, right? So is it, God forbid, a life and death situation? And so one of the things that the Mishnah and the Gemara in Shabbat talks about is a special thing called eye illnesses. Enaim. Somehow, if there's doctors here, maybe they know better than me, somehow eye illnesses are very serious. The commentaries write on the Gemara that the illnesses of the eyes stem from the heart. They're connected to the heart. And so therefore, like for example, they say sometimes if a person, God forbid, would have blood coming from their eye, it would be a bad thing because it's connected to the heart. This is what I'm telling you what the rabbinic commentaries tell you. This is not doctor. I don't know what the doctors say. This is what the rabbis say. And so for eyes, it's very, very serious that someone can break Shabbat for the eyes. And please don't take this as final halakha. That's a whole another thing for Shabbat. But I'm just letting you know that eyes illnesses is very serious in halakha. What? The eyes are the window to the soul. Yeah, the neshama is through the eyes. That's a spiritual thing. Even on a raw physical level, the Gemara says we don't take eye illnesses lightly, right? Met. Iver is like a met. Yeah, God forbid. That's sumah. Someone who's blind. Yeah, God forbid. Anyway, so that's why he brings up the eye ache. Someone who has an eye ache, for sure, he says, now I don't know, again, I'm not going to quantify what type of an eye ache. You're talking about eye illnesses. That's for a whole nother section in Shabbat. Okay. Well, now he says over here, Umaran Shulchan Aruch. Where's Maran Shulchan Aruch, right? In Siman 219, you'll find this. He writes, ready, Moshe? These are the words of Maran Shulchan Aruch. Al kol holi. Sarich levarecha gomel. For any illness, someone should say gomel. Afilu eno holish sakana. Even if there's no sakana nefashot. Velo makah shel halal. Ela kol she'ala lemita v'yarad. He had to go to bed, and he got out of bed. Mipnei shedomeh Kemi she'aluhu legardom. Like I said before, it's like someone who had to go to the courthouse. This is it. So if someone went to the bed,
Again, he doesn't say.
he doesn't give a shi'ur.
He doesn't give shiur.
Which means if someone was so knocked out that I can't stand up, I need to lay down. I can't stay up. That person, when the man Haruch, should say gomel when he gets back on his feet. What is the Rama, the Ashkenaz? The Rama the Rama writes, "V'yesh omrim she'en mevarech ela al holi sheyesh bo sakana kegon makah shel halal." The Rama writes, no. We need sakana nefashot. This is Ashkenaz. We need sakana nefashot. We don't need this. In order to bless gomel, someone should has v'shalom have a sakana nefashot. V'chen nohagim be'Ashkenaz, and this is the custom in Germany. And so we have a very clear divide. Like I said, Sephardim, we're much more free with our gomels than the Ashkenazim are.
But even the definition of sakanat nefashot, it opens a whole new gate. Now define what was sakanat nefashot.
Yeah. Well, the classic is life and death. That's the easiest one.
Yeah, but
something that has the possibility.
Is it about to deteriorate? Was it about to be sakanat? It's a whole new gate.
Yeah, because God forbid things can. So a doctor would know this better.
Yeah.
What can lead to, God forbid, a life and death? What can escalate? You know this when you look at elderly people. You can see every little thing. The doctors would be careful with this. No cold. The cold can, God forbid, be pneumonia, and then like one thing leads to another. Okay. Anyway, we see from here. We should all be healthy. It's things to talk about this, but it's life. And we see from here that the Ashkenazim are much more strict with the Birkat gomel, and the Sfaradim are much more lenient. The Abayit Hadash Pasak, Kedat Maraj Haruch, the Abayit Hadash, the Bah, he writes of no, not of the two. He was the father-in-law of the Taz, the Turei Zahav and the Bah. He holds like the Bah and the Taz. He writes like the Maraj Haruch, and he says, Al Kol Holi Yesh Lebarech. On every illness, someone should make a gomel. He also agrees. Also the Pri Megadim. And ube'emet shaminhag pashut etzel Sfaradim, says Chacham Ovadia. The minhag is obvious right now by all Sfaradim, uvnei edut mizrach and the Middle Eastern communities. The barech gomel al kol holi af al pi she'en bo sakana. Ubilbad shehaya mirutak lemita bechodyo. As long as he was bound to the bed. That's the ramification. Like we said, all these rabbis before. Who agrees? The Ma'aman Mordechai, and also the Sadeh Haaretz also says the same thing. Okay, fine. Next piece. So these are all reasons why Sfaradim should make gomel when they get better from being in bed ill. God forbid, make gomel when you get out. Umi'ata, now we just laid the groundwork that one makes gomel after being sick in bed. But the question was deeper than this. The question was, how did you get to bed? Because you didn't wear your jacket. So first, Chacham Ovadia had to give us the first layer, establish the fact that we make Sfaradim, we make gomel. Now we can get to the actual question. Now we get to the meat and the potatoes of the question. Since you are the one who caused it for yourself, why should you bless the Hashem? Thank you, Hashem, for saving me for the illness that you caused. Someone caused for himself. Shaarey Amru, we say in the Gemara, Hakol bidei shamayim chutz. That's a setup. The Gemara has a few cases like this. There we go. This is the wise Helen. The wise Helen knows all the things. The wise Helen. Hakol, the Gemara has a few types of situations. Hakol b'dei shamayim, and then it finishes it differently. Hakol b'dei shamayim chutz misinim pahim, except for the cold winds, right? The cold, catching the cold. Gemara says catching a cold, that's on you. Everything else you could blame on Hashem. Don't blame catching the cold on Hashem, says the Gemara. You have to put a jacket on. Or by Victor Miller, who I always quote, he's all about being a rationalist. He always talks about this in his books. He writes, put a jacket on. And don't be, he says, someone wrote to him a letter and said, if someone got sick because they weren't wearing a jacket, is that a kaparat avonot? He says, no, that's zero. You don't get no kaparat. Don't say kaparat avonot. You didn't wear a jacket. Rabbi Miller used to say the first mitzvah in the Torah is to be a normal person. That's what he used to write. Have common sense. That's mitzvah number one in the Torah. Have common sense. So he said, God forbid, he said there was a case in Brooklyn when he was a rabbi where, God forbid, should never happen. someone had the menorah candles very, very low with a lot of children running around, and they burnt the whole house down. And he told the person, I'm sorry, I'm not going to lie to you. This is no kapara. You don't have common sense. You have kids running around. Don't light the flame on the floor. Keep the fire out of the reach of the children. Finished. He's very into common sense. So the question is, the Gemara on Ketuvot says, catching a cold, that's not on Hashem. That's on us. We have to wear a jacket. If you care about yourself, you can avoid catching the cold most of the times. Okay. Upiresh Rashi says, all types of problems that come is a gezerah from Hashem, except for catching the cold. Cold and hot weather. You have to be smart. And hot also, you don't want to wear too hot clothing in the hot weather or too little clothing in the cold weather. She says, it's your recklessness. Okay. Also, check out Rashi in Bab Batra. He says, it's in your power to not catch the cold. Look at Tosafot. He says over there. This is Bab Batra 144. If so, since this person did something negligent, he got the cold or a fever, God forbid, because of what he did. Why should you bless gomel? When you bless gomel, you're reminding Hashem of what an idiot you are. Minhat zikaron maskelet avon.
But all the korbanot that you bring, korban chatat, korban, you remind Hashem.
Are you officially on the other side that you should say gomel? We're taking bets right now. Which side are you on?
I would say yes, because ultimately, regardless of how stupid a person was or wasn't, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him briut.
Okay,
that's the essence of gomel.
Let's see. I just want to make sure you don't switch teams at the end.
No, I don't.
The Chida writes, Teshuvat Mar Abiv, the Chida quotes his father, Hagaon Rabbi Yitzhak Zerachya Azulai, which I don't see too often, the Chida quoting his father. I don't read everything, but I don't really see too often. What does he say? Odot Mashinish Ame Hagaon Rabbi Eliezer Nahum. He asked Rabbi Eliezer, or he was asked by Rabbi Eliezer Nahum, B'Shelat Halom, in a dream, to the father of the Arizal in a dream. This is his question. And we'll get a little Kabbalistic here, which some people are going to hate. Sorry, this is part of the Torah. The dream question to the Chida's father was, the four rabbis who went into the Pardes, into the Kabbalistic garden. There's a Gemara on Hagigah, and the Midrash, the Zohar says this, whatever it means. Maybe it's literal, maybe it's not literal, whatever it is, take it as it is. But the four people went to the garden of paradise, and as Ben Azai died, he couldn't handle it. He looked at the holy things, and he died. And we'll read it right here. It says, "Shara Ben Azai hititz b'met." Ben Azai died. Ben Zoma hititz b'nifga. Ben Zoma went crazy from what he saw over there. He reached too high of a spiritual level for a human. But who came out? Akiva came out. And Elisha took it the other way. Rabbi Akiva came out and stayed normal. So the question was, Aher is the other one.
He said, I become, I don't accept anything.
He came out and he gave up the whole religion. But Rabbi Akiva is the only one of the four. He came out of this experience normal. And again, some people hold this is not a literal thing. It's figurative. Maybe even in the dreams they went to Pardes, and that made them crazy even in the dream. And Ben Azai maybe even died from anguish of the dream. This is a deep topic, but let's get back to the question. So the Chida's father was asked. Rabbi Akiva, he went all the way there in a place of sakana. We see 3 out of the 4 had horrible situation from there. Should he bless gomel because he came back normal? Rabbi Akiva, that's the question. Question number 2 in the dream to the Chida's father. Yitzhak Avinu, shenitzo meha akedah. Yitzhak Avinu, after Akedat Yitzhak, he himself volunteered to be killed by his father. He wasn't, but he volunteered and he was saved. האם מתחייב לקטו גומל? Should he say גומל to Hashem?
No.
כיוון שיגיע לסכנה וניצול ממנה. He was saved from סכנה נפשות. He was saved from danger.
The premeditated plan was that he was never in real danger.
Let's
It
see.
was all about the kavanah. daat.
וכן כהן גדול, one more, to the Hida's father. A כהן גדול on Yom Kippur, שנכנס לפני ולפנים, לקודש הקודשים, he went into the holiest place, and if he didn't have pure thoughts, he wouldn't make it out. That's why they have the bells and the rope. If they stopped hearing the bells, that means he ain't walking around anymore, right? And they'd pull him out. במקום אש להבת שלהבת, he went to the holiest place. האם יברך גומל בסוף שלום קודש? Does he make gomel after the Yom Kippur service? So these are the questions they asked the Hida's father. He's saying no, no, no. Veheshiv, and the Hida's father, you say yes? The Kohen Gadol. Veheshiv, the Hida's father, alav hashalom, Sadiq. What did he answer? כי מעולם לא תקנו חכמים לברך הגומל, אלא דווקא עשרה הבאה לאדם בעל כורחו ושלום מדעתו. The institution of gomel was not made for volunteered actions. And the first thing I thought of is all these Red Bull guys. You know the Red Bull guys, they put the GoPros on them and they do all sorts of crazy things with the wings all over the mountains. I was saved. I traveled over. You're crazy. You know, these people do crazy things. The beracha of gomel is not for when you volunteered for psycho things. It's only when things came upon someone. If someone ba'al korho, against his will, was in a situation and he was saved, he has to bless. Like the four people we know, they have to make gomel. Remember we said this a couple weeks ago? What is the acronym? Right? Hayim, Het Yod Yod Mem. Each one stands for Habush, Yam, Yisurin, Midbar. These are the four guys who have to make gomel. Someone who is in Yisurim is prison, yeah. No, Yisurim is someone who was sick. Habush is prison. Habush. Anyone who is in the four circumstances of Hayim have to bless. People who travel, it's against their will. It's against their will. I book my travel. I pay for my travel. What's against their will? He says, they only do it because they need money. Hashem, you made a world, but I have to go work and I have to go fly to Miami to make money. I'd rather win the lottery and not fly to Miami. But right, so it's against my will to fly. Even traveling for business is against my will. I don't want to do that. I have to do it for business.
Well, the law says that people should not. But actually, it makes the argument that if you travel great distances for earning money, then it shows a lack of the Chon and Hashem.
Yeah.
You get it local.
True, but we're not all holding on that level, right? It's almost none of us are holding on the level where, you know what, it's okay. I'm going to only work 9 to 5 in Los Angeles, in Valley Village. I'm not even going on the 405. I'm going to open up a shop here in Valley Village, and that's going to be my panasa. We can't all put our money where our mouth is. It's a very hard test. Some people may be able to do that. I certainly don't do it. I'm traveling all day long, right? Right. So it's a level. It's a level to say, Hashem, you give me my money right here next door to the shul. I gotta make mincha every single day. It's a very big level. Is it a great thing to do? Absolutely. But it's not the. So he's saying the Havot Levot is saying define hishtadlut. If you really believe that Hashem, you can do hishtadlut in Valley Village, open up an ice cream shop, Black Rabbit. That's your income. And it's a very high level.
And he also limits how much you should have.
Yeah, and work 9 to 5, I said.
That's right.
9 to 5, not 8:30 to 5. It's a very high level. I'm not there. I wish I was there. I'm working my head off. We all are working our heads off, right?
So what about for traveling?
So traveling for leisure is a good question. I was thinking about that also because it's not against your will. It's with your will. I don't know. Let's let him finish his words. Also, people who travel the desert, it's against their will also for business. If someone does something voluntarily, and you put yourself in danger, and tzarich lebarech, says the Hida's father, you don't bless for this. There was a rabbi who used to say, come Yisurim, come, I want it. I want the kapara. Come, make me sick. Come. Someone like this, you ask for it. If you ask for it, you don't bless when you finish it. Okay. He says, every day the rabbis are to bless gomel when he asked Hashem to make him sick? No. Those four guys who went to the garden, to the whatever you call it, the orchard. He says, obviously, this is not to be taken literally, says the Hida's father. This story should not be taken literally. Like the Tosafot writes, they used Hashem's name to fly there. They didn't actually fly to heaven. It's just a spiritual thing. They felt as if they were flying to the Akiyah. They were still in their beds, Tosafot writes. Anyway, the Hida's father writes, no, we don't bless. Huh? The Hida's father is saying, anyway, the story.
I know, but is he trying to suggest that the whole thing of the Pardes was the
Not to be-
distance that they traveled? It's the spiritual experience.
Right, he's saying, but they didn't physically.
That endangered them.
Right, but he's saying that their body physically didn't move. It was a mental thing.
אבל הראיה לכך one of them died.
From a mental thing.
Correct.
Mental made him mental thing. Listen, we don't know what this means. This is very deep stuff.
And moreover, in the beginning, it says that the initiative, the gomel came only if it was.
Baal Korham. Baal Korham. Yeah. Let's finish quick. Akedat Yitzhak, Shaitas B'Sivui Mamar Hashem, which was the commandment of Hashem to do it. Also, Yitzhak does not make a beracha after Akedah. V'chein HaKohen Gadol. Also the Kohen Gadol, Kivan Shenichnas Al Pi Mitzvot Hashem, he's going because Hashem told him to go in. L'fnai v'l'fnim, Kiken Yisad HaMelech, that's a pasuk from Megillat Esther. The sort of Megillat Avonot, Lo Nitchayev, he wouldn't bless. So the Hida's father says all these answers is no blessing, no blessing, no blessing. Okay. Now I have to skip a little so we finish on time because it's a long halakha. So I'm going to skip around. So if you want the whole story, you can look the rest up yourself. It's book 4, Siman 14. Get the whole picture, but I'm going to skip around. Okay. He says over here, Hakam Vadia, Ulam, Yesh Lidhot, Shibinidon Shelanu, in our question of someone who didn't wear a jacket, Lechol Hadaot, Hadeot Tzrich Lebarech. According to everyone, he should bless. Why? Kivan Sheme'olam Lo Hashav, Shayedeh Hose Zihiroto, Yipol Meshkav V'yachleh. No one thinks they're going to get sick. When people don't wear a jacket, they're not saying, oh, I want to go get sick. They think that I'm going to be fine. I'm fine. I'm stronger. I'm healthy. It's not going to do anything to me. It's only 5 minutes. And so they're not planning on getting sick. They think they're not going to get sick. And so it's still kind of against their will. They're not doing something that's completely reckless. In their heads, they think they got it. Someone doesn't wear a seatbelt in a car. They think, it's fine. It's down the block. Nothing's going to happen. It's the same story. It's not they're trying to invite danger. They think they're going to be fine. How do you know? The test is, how do you know? They're right. How many times the guy walked around without a jacket? He didn't get sick every single time. And so it's not 100% that someone gets sick when they don't wear a jacket. It's not a very clear and imminent danger like the other activities to not wear a jacket. It's not very clear that it's going to make for sure someone sick. Therefore, if someone didn't wear a jacket or was reckless, they should indeed make a blessing gomel when they got out of bed after they are better. The 4 guys in the garden, it's a whole different story. They got themselves into a whole thing. I'm going to skip now and just wrap it up real quick. He quotes now that he says, Rabbi Gaon Avraham Miyuhas. Rabbi Avraham Miyuhas was a rabbi in Yerushalayim in 1700s. His brother was the chief rabbi. His brother, Rafael, Moshe Rafael, was the chief rabbi, Rishon LeZion, in the 1700s in Israel. I think 1771. And Rabbi Miyuhas writes the same answer, and he writes, "Shebiholi kazeh sheba'al yedei ha'adam atzmo, eno tzarich leberech hagomel." He does not make gomel. Mikom akom, mekivan she'en safek shehasarat ha'holi eno ela yedei hakadosh baruch hu, she'en refuat ha'holi yedei basar adam ela Hashem parach sholech tebara tov yipayehu, bevadai shetzarich leberech hagomel ulhodot leHashem shegazal omer refuato mecholav. He says, at the end of the day, once the person is in the situation and they're lying in bed ill, who makes them better? Hashem makes them better. Even if you got yourself into the mess, you can't clean the mess by yourself. You can take medicine, but you need Hashem. And therefore, how do you not thank Hashem when He makes you better? And so he says, in his words, what do we care? that it came from his negligence. This is Rabbi Miyuchas writes, you should indeed bless after it. V'siyam, and he finishes, V'chen minhag ha'olam, lebarech b'kat ha'gomel al mahalat ha'kadahat, she'senim pahim, le'achad she'abara holim mikol v'kol, v'netrapeh legamri. This is the custom to make a beracha after a fever, after being in bed. Okay, I'm skipping. Now, this is what someone asked me in shul. This is why I'm doing this whole halakha. He's not here now, but the person, Nadav, the new person, great guy, he asked me if someone has tax evasion. I don't know if he's thinking about someone specific in Israel. Someone, a rabbi even, who did tax evasion or stole from the government and found himself locked up in jail. When he gets out of jail, should he bless gomel to Hashem? Or he's a crook? Why'd you put yourself in jail? So I answered him. I said, Acham has a whole teshuvah about being sick for not wearing a jacket. That should answer your question. I didn't know that Acham actually brings the same exact question, and so it's a perfect answer for him. I have to make sure you tell him to watch this video when you see him. So he says over here, Rabbi Yosef Halevi ben Megash. He was asked, the Rimagash, v'damar habush bebet ha'asurim al piraon hov or amas hakasuv al kol ish va'ish. He didn't pay back his loans, and he found himself in jail. He didn't pay his taxes, and he's in jail. Does he make a beracha gomel after getting out of jail? Or Or this is part two of what Nadav was asking me. He says white collar jail. Is that what they call it? White collar crime is. It's not sakana. You go to jail. It's like a hotel room, right? So maybe he shouldn't bless when he gets out of this type of a jail.
They say so. A man would not bring himself out.
In habush matira small. It's a Gemara that says this, okay? Ve'eshiv, and he answered. The Rimagash answered. Shehoya ve'al panim haya habush beit hasohar. He was locked up in jail or not? Yes, he was in jail. Ve'ata yasa me'oto matzav, and now he's out of jail. V'na'asa ben chonin, and he's a free man. Nitchayev be'berkat gomel. You have to bless. Don't start making differentiations. Someone's in jail, doesn't matter how he got there. When he gets out, he has to bless. The rabbi didn't say this type of jail, that type of jail. It doesn't matter.
To begin with, anyone who's chavush
Anyone
is likely to
chavush.
have done something or possibly have done something.
Not always.
Possibly.
Not always. No. Look, go back in other countries, in Russia and in the past.
I
You
said,
get locked up for nothing at all.
I understand. So that's a different kind of chavushim. That's
what he's saying. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's all different things, but since the Gemara never specified only these, you have to assume
all of
the
them.
chavushim.
Exactly.
That's it.
And he says, even if the guy has cash in the bank, he could pay the bill right now if he wants to pay the tax, but he doesn't want to pay it. I'm not paying it. He has the money. He's a real guy. He's like, no, I'm going to hold my money back. They're going to make a deal with me. We'll settle for half. And his plan didn't work out. The guy's got cash in the bank. He's an idiot, the guy. If he wanted to, he could have just paid it and been free. We don't want to make Hashem's word shiurim. We don't want to make differentiations. We want one easy halacha. If someone's in jail, he gets out of jail, God forbid, he blesses. It comes out. I'm going to skip a couple of lines. It comes from the end of his words. You always make a beracha. We don't make different cases. We have universal laws. How did I not know this? I was beating myself over the head. Ben Ish Chai says this straight out. I used to learn Ben Ish Chai every Friday night for years. Ben Ish Chai in Parashat Ekev says straight out, it doesn't matter what type of jail or how he got the jail. He makes a blessing when he gets out. Okay. He has one more part that I'm not going to read because we're out of time. So I'm just going to say outside. The next part he says is, okay, let's turn it up a notch. Let's turn it up a notch. God forbid should never happen. Let's say the person tried to commit suicide. How far you want to take this? Says the Kamadia. Now in halakha, you have to keep going. You know, it's not comfortable, but we want to push the boundaries. How far does this apply? And so, God forbid, should never happen. He said, okay, someone tried to kill themselves. They make gomel when they get out of there. How far you want to take this halakha? And so, he goes through a whole thing. Very bad for trying. Yeah, so the person murdered himself. God forbid, God forbid. And also, it says he doesn't have a halak, and it's very bad, very, very bad. So it's a whole thing. I'm going to go. There's two sides. I can't read the whole thing. It's too late. We have to start to the second class. I'm going to read you the bottom line halakha. And you can borrow the book after and read it yourself. According to my opinion, says the Kamadia, שמאחר שעשה בשעת נפש, בשעת נפש, strike one, strike two.
It's disrespect.
Because he did this thing, לשלוח יד בנפשו, to try to hurt himself, שעונשו חמור יותר מסתם שופכי דמים. It's worse than normal murder. To trying to murder oneself, God forbid, is worse than normal murder. עד דאמרו שהמאבד עצמו לדעת, אין לו חלק לעולם הבא. Someone, God forbid, who commits suicide, the rabbis say, has no halak. Now, I just want to put a little star. We've had cases in the community. There are people who say not applicable to mental problems. If someone had mental problems, there could be honest. Everyone has mental problems. Yeah. I just don't want to. I want to have feelings for people who know someone who's lost something. Yeah. Anyway, but I got to read what the rabbis say. The rabbis say, "En lo halak." It's the worst thing someone can do. Okay. En lo lebarech hagomel kashenitzo. Hacham says, "This is where I draw the line. I draw the line here. If someone tried to commit suicide, they got better. Don't go to the shul and bless gomel because you're better. Just live your life." En lo lebarech kashenitzo she'alav ne'amad ubotzei barech ni etz Hashem. Your blessing is Hashem doesn't want to hear your blessing right now. You're basically publicizing to the whole shul that you tried to do something terrible, God forbid. It's not good. It's not in good taste. Don't make blessing for this bad of a situation. He draws the line here. Don't bless. And he found other things. Okay, and the bottom line halakha is from this long halakha in Book 414, I encourage you to look it up if you want all the details. It's nice. He says, is like we said, if someone, so Sephardim hold, anyone who fell into bed, there's no shi'ur.
The right team.
Anyone, yeah, you're on the right team. Yeah, I tried to like reverse psychology out of it. The person, anyone who fell himself into bed, God forbid, or herself into a bed, they were not able to stand. When they get better, they have to make gomel according to Sephardim. We see the Ramah says no. If you're Ashkenaz, the Ramah says no. Only real sakana. Level 2, if someone didn't wear a jacket, they went out in the rain, they did something reckless, I don't know, COVID, they didn't wear a mask maybe, doesn't matter.
No, because the mask was a fraud.
Yeah, we don't know what the mask.
Or they didn't have a vaccine.
Or they didn't get the Fauci ouchie. All these things, someone would still make gomel when they got better because it's not guaranteed 100% that this activity is going to make someone down the path. The 4 people in Pardes and the Kohen Gadol and Akedat Yitzhak, they do not make beracha, and God forbid, someone who tries to commit suicide, God forbid, should never happen, would not make beracha gomel. We should all be safe. We should all be healthy. Only good things and good, healthy life for everyone. And then we can take your question.
By the way, there is when you say anybody who's trying to take his life, it's not